Раз, 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 раз. Morning, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, very nice. So we're waiting for everybody else to join and we're starting in 3 minutes. Rabil, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm actually
Emmanuel?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Emmanuel?
Yes, I can get you very well.
Okay, great. Did you say can or can't?
I can hear you very well.
All right.
Can.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got 2 minutes before the beginning, so we're waiting for everybody else. In the meantime, let me mark you guys as present. Victor, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. We're waiting for everybody else to join and then we're starting.
Okay.
Anton, can you hear me okay?
Sure.
All right, great. We're starting in a minute.
He will not send anything. It's a pin message.
No.
Right. Can you guys hear me well? I mean, those who have just joined.
Yes.
All right, great, great. I got something wrong with Anton Yegorov. He's trying to connect, but yeah. Okay, in the meantime, let me mark you guys as present. So I got Karam, I got Nur Sultan, I got Imre.
Yes.
Do I have G? G here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, I got you. Right. So G is present. Okay, Anton is present, Shahiste is here. Yusuf, you are here. Rabul, Sirajuddin. Sirajuddin, you here? Okay. Sirajuddin? Obviously not. Okay, Emmanuel is here. Victor is here. Wati is here. Ruslan is here. Manuel is here. Hamza is here. Sami. Yeah, Sami is here. All right. Arslan. Arslan, you here?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Valeria is here. And Anastasia is here. Dmitry is here. Vladimir. You
Yeah,
here?
I'm here.
Okay, I got you. And Javier?
I'm here.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Shahist is very kind today, I understand. Right. Okay, I've marked everybody as present. So here's the plan for today. Today we're going to start, I'm going to start with your home assignment, with the home assignment for this class. I've received some of your assignments and I think I have got some comments to make. So we'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about presenting arguments. We'll briefly talk about what arguments are supposed to be, how arguments are supposed to be supported with your essay, and then you will have some practice in relation to the effective writing style. That's the plan for today. So, first of all, let me start with the home assignment from the for today's class. Let me show you the screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So this is one of your assignments. I'm not going to tell you whose assignment is that, just to make sure that you do not repeat mistakes and errors like that. Okay. So first of all, the first one is about IEEE referencing. So when you provide referencing, be sure to italicize and abbreviate the article of the journal. Okay, like for example, Here you've got mechanism and machine theory. So since it is a journal article according to the IEEE standards, it has to be italicized and abbreviated. So you might want to refer to the list of standard abbreviations with IEEE reference guide. And if the words from the title match the list, you will have to abbreviate those. Also, I should say that access information is missing. By access information, I mean words like available from, the word online, and the actual and the date of when you actually obtained this information from online. Because I do believe that most of the articles you get from online. So if you're not using like hard copies of your articles or of your sources, okay, be sure to provide a URL and use the word online and provide the date when you access the information. Okay? Please ask me questions on IEEE referencing.
Professor.
Yep.
Just a second.
Go ahead, Imre.
Yeah, I have a question. Here,
go
for
ahead.
example, in this particular homework we have, since we're using just one, in this case, just one article or one source, do we need also to be even more specific and write down exactly the one between brackets here? I mean, considering it's just one source in this particular homework.
Yeah, you'll have to use number one because this is like the IEEE referencing principle. Since you refer to your sources in the number of appearance, here you only have got one source. Obviously, well, you will have to use number one despite of the fact that you only have one source.
Okay, thank you.
Because you'll also need that for in-text citation purposes, because you will use the word-for-word quotation from this source, and you would have to provide the page number and the actual source you got those citations from. So you'll have to use square brackets and the number inside. Yeah,
Okay.
Manuel. Was it a question? All right, let me continue. The article summary here is pretty much okay, but once we come to paraphrasing, I can see a major trouble here. Okay, major trouble number one is that you don't cite your quotations. So with the original statement, you have got the word-for-word quotation. Okay. And since this is a verbatim quotation, you have to provide page number for that. Now, this is like the recurrent mistake that you keep on doing, okay? And I just want to say that this is quite a dangerous thing to get used to, all right? Because it can be considered as plagiarism, and I believe that none of us want that. That's number one. And number two, I'm afraid that some of you misunderstood the whole concept of paraphrasing. Please take a look at line 2 of this table. Take a look at the underlined versions. All right. As you can see, those underlined parts, those are exact replication. I mean, the underlined part in column 2 is the exact replication of the underlined part from column 1. It's like a word for word, okay? It is supposed to be paraphrasing, okay? When we say paraphrasing, we mean saying the same, but in very different words, okay? You cannot have more than 3 words, 3 verbatim words in a row in your paraphrase. Okay, so you have to change anything, practically anything, but for 3 words in terms of form. Okay, so we're speaking in terms of linguistic. We're speaking linguistically here. So your paraphrase has to be linguistically different, okay? So the same meaning has to be expressed in different words, okay? If you write anything like that, so you include the reporting part, but the original stays unchanged, okay? Which means that it will still be plagiarism, because you're not using quotation marks here, and you're not providing page numbers, which makes it plagiarism. Now, if you make a mistake like that in your research essay, your research essay will not be graded. And if you make a mistake like that with your research proposal during your PhD exam, during your PhD English exam, okay, such a proposal will also not be graded, which means that you would fail both of the exams. So I would like you to be like extra careful with things like that when you paraphrase, okay? Make sure that the original has a completely different form in terms of language, okay? Or use the quotation mark and specify the page numbers. So follow the in-text citation rules as per IEEE. Please ask me questions.
I have a question regarding this issue. So I found a paper is like mathematical paper. So their trump is actually standardization, like KDD. Many term I cannot has a find suitable word or actually replace those words because this actually has a common word like FCA, formal concept analysis. So this is theory word, it can replicate everywhere. So many of this kind of as a technical word, so is a long term. So how to actually handle this in terms of when we paraphrasing this term, because this is more than 3 words and it can there is no alternative for this word,
Right.
actually this sentence for the mathematical terms.
Right. You might want to return to the previous class on paraphrasing techniques. Okay, there's a video, you might want to rewatch that again, because we said that there are several groups of phrases that are usually not paraphrased, that cannot be paraphrased, and one of those are terms. Obviously, when you're speaking about some area, okay, you will have to use those very specific and exact terms. So you will have to have those terms unchanged, despite of the fact that those terms might be like 4 words or 5 words. Now, if you have that 4 or 5 word phrase, okay, borrowed verbatim from the original, it would not be considered plagiarism, even despite the fact of it will not be considered plagiarism because this is those are terms, all right? But if you take a look at the examples on screen, you will see that the verbs are exactly the same, and the adverbs are exactly the same, and the word order is exactly the same. Okay, so this is like 100% plagiarism. All right. Also, another thing that you might want to use, we actually talked about that during the previous class. You might want to start the sentence from the end. Okay, that's number 1. And number 2, you might want to use conversion to change nouns into verbs. Like instead of expansion in the original, you could use expand in the paraphrase. Okay. So you can use techniques like that. Okay. So you might want to, if you have issues like that, please refer to the previous class on paraphrasing. There are very clearly paraphrasing techniques that you might want to use. But once we're speaking about terms are usually not paraphrased, despite of the fact that they can be longer than three words, though it's rarely the case. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, please ask me some more questions on paraphrasing.
Oh, actually, this is not a good question, but
Yeah.
what does in you change it, for example, or the not, for example, it's from 1 to 5, and you change it our first page, and what does it mean here? I cannot understand.
Right.
Actually.
If you take a look, the question is about line 2.
Sure.
The student has written 1 to 5.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
really understand that 1 to 5. For me, 1 to 5 is well, 1 to 5 refers to 5 different sources.
Yeah.
Okay, like you have source 1, source 2, source 3, source 4, and source 5. Okay, but here you only, I mean, for this task, for this assignment, you only have one source. So I don't really understand what is being referred to here. Okay, now with the original statement column, there should be only one source referred to, specifying page numbers. So what I'm thinking is that the student misunderstood the task. So once your original statement is a direct quotation, you have to provide the source number and the page number.
I see. Thank you.
Right. Did that answer your question?
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions about paraphrasing, please? So when you do paraphrasing, you will still have to cite the original, okay? And that part, citing the original, is missed in this assignment. Okay? Right. Yeah, so if you take a look at the assignment, you will see that not practically, that all these sentences are plagiarized here, okay? Now, this assignment, your home assignments are not graded, okay? What is graded here is timely submission, okay? But if you do something like that with your graded task will not be graded, and you will get a fail, and you'll have to resubmit your paper, getting minus 25% for late submission. So this is like a very serious matter. Please pay special attention to paraphrasing and to in-text citations. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. For example, I took it their paper. The author for this paper is from United States,
Okay.
and actually they broke some structures. For example, pattern structure, and they actually their structure is a little bit different. And I used the same structure which we studied from the previous lesson. And I actually, but actually I changed it, this structure, but some words I put it the same, and that's why just when I see your example, and actually I suppose some actually some paraphrasing results, it's actually the same. Actually, I will have some plagiarism. That's why just I mean maybe you didn't understand me, but I mean the United States language is actually I like it, but they sometimes they broke some actually the pattern structure.
Well, that happens. That happens all the time. I mean, not all the researchers are good writers. That's the reason why we are delivering this course for you. Okay, we want you to write in clear and simple language for your research to be easily readable. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, sure. Yes, but for example, the last the second part of their sentences is actually I like it, and I don't know how to paraphrase more, actually more with how
Okay.
to say more better.
Are you speaking about the sentence on screen?
For example, yes. I mean, I know. I mean, I speaking about. For example, I took it my sentence, for example, which I want to paraphrase, and for example, for these sentences, I just changed the first part of these sentences, and from original one, these sentences actually was broken, the structure. I mean, and I changed. Yes, I changed the first part of these sentences, but I put it the same structure for second part of these sentences. But you said my sentences will be with plagiarism, right?
Yeah, if you borrow more than 3 words verbatim, like word for word borrowing, okay?
Yes.
Now, if you borrow 3 words in a row, that will be considered plagiarism.
I see.
So
okay.
you can, I mean, if you really like the formulation, if you really like the original, if you really like the way the original sounds, okay, you will have to use quotations.
I see. Thank you.
But even if you use quotations, you will have to use quotation marks and page numbers, okay? And there is also the limitation that if your research contains too many quotations, it might be considered as secondary and non-original.
Okay, thank you.
So you don't really want to have too many quotations.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or issues as per paraphrasing?
I mean, do we have time to resubmit again, for example, according to your remarks? Or,
this one?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this homework maybe.
Not really. As I said, this
Okay.
home assignment is not graded in terms of quality, but it's graded in terms of timely submission. Okay, you will get your feedback, and then there will be other tasks with other assignments with similar tasks. Okay, and you will have your chance to correct the mistakes and the imperfections that you committed.
Thank you. Okay.
Please ask me some other questions. Right, okay. Then I would like to speak about this one.
Professor.
Yeah, go ahead.
One small issue regarding,
Yeah.
Sorry, just a second. Yes, just one small issue regarding the online part. In case, for example, I had the particular trouble that when I was using one paper, which I originally accessed to around, I don't know, more than, I would say 6 months ago. For example, it was on a web page, which was referred to many articles related to the same topic. But then this server or this page was taken down, for example. And then I mean, the paper originally as free as it was, or online access, totally free as it was not anymore available to anyone. So what I did was to search for the same article, and then I found like the original, so to say, the original paper in an official web page. But in this case, the paper was not accessible anymore. So just the abstract was to be seen there, and that's it. So, and in order to cite anything online, I should set, I mean, I should provide the page number, etc. What should I do in this particular case?
Well, first of all, that's the reason why you have to provide the date of the access. Like as of, I don't know, as of February 25, 2019, the article was available within this URL. Okay.
So even if the URL doesn't work anymore, I should mention that URL. Okay.
Yeah, if you have the date. So the access information has 3 parts. Part number 1 accessed on this certain date, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the last part is the actual URL. So if you have that combination, it means that as of that date specified, the source was available at that URL that you provided in your writing.
Regardless of whether the URL works now or not.
Well, strictly speaking, any reference list is supposed to be, well, you provide reference list for your reader to be able to verify whatever you say. So if I was in a situation like that, I would try to find an alternative source that is available now.
Okay. I will.
Please ask me some other questions. Right. Okay, the next one that I want to discuss is more about the effective, it's more about the effective text. Can you see my screen, summary of the article?
Yes.
Right. Once again, this is one of your home assignments. And I would like to point to several linguistic imperfections here, okay? First of all, you probably do remember that we spoke about the subjects, and I ask you to be extra careful with pronouns. Now, if you take a look at this summary, you will see that this summary is riddled with ineffective pronouns here, okay? So you got eat, all right? So the writer, I guess the writer meant eat to refer to the article, okay? But the trouble is that it is very far away. It's basically one sentence away from its referent, all right? So generally, the referent that you reader would be more inclined to use is the last word that matches the number, okay? So with this in mind, your reader would probably think that it refers to area, while the writer thinks it refers to the article, all right? And it will take some extra time for your reader to figure out the situation, which means that your reader will have to reread the sentence to understand the actual referent for that pronoun, okay? And the situation kind of, you know, escalates because you got every other sentence starting with eat, making the matter worse, all right? So what you want to do is to, when you proofread your own writing, okay, be sure to take a look at pronouns as subjects and try to replace those, okay, with actual words. So here you can replace it with the word, either with the word article, but that would probably be not the very best option, because if that is the case, you would have to repeat the word article over and over again, all right? But you can also replace it with the actual names of the authors. So instead of writing the article starts, you can write, what's their name? Novak and Rena start with the assistive control dominant paradigm. The meaning will stay the same, but the form would be different, and your reader will understand right away who writes about what, who does what, okay? You can continue with this technique. Like for the first eat, you can use the actual names, Novak and Rena. For the next eat, you can use the authors. The authors then cover challenge-based algorithm, okay? and then you can continue. Furthermore, you can already use article to replace the last "eat." Okay. So the reason we're doing that is to kill ambiguity. Okay. We want our readers to have as less trouble as possible reading your text. Okay. Please ask me questions. Right. Another thing is the length of the sentences. Please take a look at the last two sentences of the summary. What you see here is a very long sentence. Basically, your sentence is supposed to have two clauses. Do you understand what is a clause? Anybody? Do I have to explain what is a clause? C-L-A-U-S-E.
Yes, please explain it.
All right, a clause is a subject plus verb. Like somebody did something, okay? Generally, a good sentence, generally a good complex or compound sentence consists of two clauses. So a clause is a subject plus verb, all right? The trouble with extra long sentences is that it has got more than two clauses, as is the case in those two last sentences. All right. So basically, the mistake is adding which to the sentence which already has two clauses. All right. If you have this, you might want to start another sentence. Like, for example, take a look at the last sentence here. The article ends with a discussion of the current challenges in rehabilitation robot software, which means evaluating existing control strategies in a clinical setting and using entirely new artificial intelligence techniques in order to increase a robot's autonomy. So what you can do with this sentence is, first of all, to put a full stop right after software. So you replace your colon with a full stop. So the article ends with a discussion of the current challenges in rehabilitation, robot software, end of story. Then you start a new sentence, okay? So you need to replace which with the concrete word. I understand the good solution here would be using a discussion. So you could continue with the sentence which starts as, this discussion means, even better than that, this discussion evaluates existing control strategies in a clinical setting and uses new artificial intelligence techniques in order to increase the robot's autonomy. Do you understand this solution? Please,
Professor,
yeah,
Professor, if we replace the column with just let's say a point there, how many clauses would that first sentence have?
Well, the first sentence will only have one clause.
Mm-hmm. So from the article and then ends with etc. till software.
Yeah, the clause would be the article ends. That is the clause. Mm-hmm. The clause is like the core of the grammatical core of the sentence.
So that involves the subject of the sentence and the verb itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it? And
the rest of it is just something else, you know, like objects and time and place and definition not the
Okay.
definition, but the modifiers,
Okay.
stuff like that. Okay. So the reason why you have only one clause in the first sentence is that this is just a logical thing to do. Okay.
Okay.
Basically, you don't want to have a sentence which runs over 2 lines. This is generally too long. Another thing is you got a redundancy here, a wordiness actually, that in order to, please guys, make sure that in order to is a big no-no in your writing, okay? Because in order to means the same as just to. It comes from French actually. It's a foreign borrowing, okay? So there is no need for you to use in order to. Please drop in order whenever you try to write something like that. Okay, so just write new artificial intelligence technique to increase the autonomy. Okay.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, go ahead, please.
In terms of in order to, sometimes we have a lot of to's in the sentence, and also to plays different roles. So like it could mean direction, it could mean different things. So can we use in order to make it very clear what function of to we are referring to, especially in a sentence where we have like a consecutive to's?
Generally, you don't need to do that because you've got like two to's, okay, like to plus verb. If you got to plus verb, then to is a particle, and then you got to plus noun. If you got to plus noun, then to is a preposition, okay. And since the combination is different, okay, it would be quite clear for a native speaker at least that what you're using, a particle or a preposition. So if you got to plus verb, people would understand that you're speaking about purpose here. Okay, if you got to plus noun, everybody would understand that you're speaking about direction here. So that in order part is redundant. It comes from French actually. It comes from Latin. You probably know the story about the Norman conquest of England, and the story that the nobles were French speaking, and since that French language influenced the official English language, it is quite a long story. It's from the medieval times actually.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer your question?
All right, yes, thank you.
All right. Another thing that I want to draw your attention to is the use of the apostrophe S, the robot's autonomy. I should say that you should only use apostrophe after animated objects. So basically after human, generally, all right? But if you're using the apostrophe after the non-animated object, okay, this will only be restricted to the spoken language. So the robot's autonomy would be spoken. It's a spoken phrase. So you say that, but you don't generally write it. Okay? So the correct one would be to increase the robot's autonomy. So please only use apostrophe with animated objects. Okay? Please ask me some other questions.
Professor.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a small question with, well, I mean, we were speaking about Latin here. I have a question regarding Latin locutions or Latin phrases. In some papers, I have seen that many authors write let's say. And with this kind of formulae instead of formulas. I mean, they use the Latin plural of the words. I don't know, nucleo, nuclei, and a phenomenon, phenomena, etc. Criterion, criteria. Should we, first of all, are we allowed to use them, or should we use the standard English? And
all right.
as we know it, yes.
This is quite a complicated thing. First of all, some of the words, some of the Latin phrases or words, they might have like two forms of plurals. Okay, like take the word cactus, for example. The plural would be cacti and cactuses. Okay, you can use both in this case.
Yeah.
But if you take words like phenomenon, okay, sadly enough, phenomenon does not have the usual, the general English plural. Okay, the plural from phenomenon will only be phenomena. Okay, so if there are two options, you're free to choose either one. Okay, so you can either write cactus, cactuses, or cacti. Okay, but if you don't have options, you will have to resort to the Latin plurals. Now, the way to sort things out is a dictionary. So the English dictionary, like Webster, like Oxford. And another thing, sometimes the difference between using Latin plural and English plural is regional variations. Like, for example, the British language tends to use Latin more, while the American version tends to use more like general plural. Like, for example, a British researcher would probably write cacti, while the US researcher would probably write cactuses. But both of them will surely write phenomena. So,
and, well, okay, phenomena is just one example. Or let's say the word formula. I have seen in papers, I have seen the word formulas and formulae.
Yeah.
Exactly. In this case, which one should I choose?
Both of them. Once again, I'm not sure which one is British, which one is American. Both options are possible with formula. So you can go with formulas, or you can go with formulae. Both of them. Just keep one and stick to it.
Okay.
Also, it might be a good idea to see how people use. I mean, if you're submitting your article for publication, it might be a good idea to read the journal beforehand and to see what the people publish in that journal. What is the convention for that very journal?
Okay. Okay.
Please ask me some other questions. Right. Once again, this is a different assignment, and as you can see, there's the direct borrowing from the original. Okay, you cannot do that without quotation. This is called plagiarism, so be careful about that. Another thing that I want to speak about is the use of the word "the authors." It's it's the very first, not the first, it's like paraphrase version. It's the column of paraphrase version 1, 2, 3, the third from the beginning, which starts, the authors demonstrated that. First of all, let me start by saying that the authors demonstrated that is a perfectly okay sentence. Okay, it's perfectly okay, but you might want to prefer using the actual names to the authors. Okay, because it will be easier for your readers. And your reader would not have to think who are the authors. So like, for example, number one, what's number one here? Number one here is Novak and Rina. So instead of writing the authors demonstrated that, you could write Novak and Rina demonstrated that.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question. When is it like ideal to use the authors or the researchers? Or they are interchangeably, irrespective of the context or the research?
Right. First of all, the authors and researchers are interchangeable. You can use the authors and researchers for diversity reasons, but still all the same, try to use names.
Okay.
It will be easier for your readers.
But let's say they are the authors more than 3 or 4, it also doesn't depend on that. Because let's say there's only one author. So I'll just, it would be much more easier for me to just say this author, like by name, demonstrated that and that.
See, according to IEEE, when you've got 3 authors or more, you can use @al for your in-text citation.
Yeah. Yes.
So
I thought maybe there's a kind of like a style that it's more easier and nice to use the name if there's only one author, other than using just like the name of the author if it's only one.
Not really. I mean, it's not like a regulation.
Okay.
It's, well, I totally understand you. It's easier to write one name as compared to 2 names, surely. But you know, once you're writing, you're not writing for yourself. You're writing for the other people. You're writing to be read. Okay. So if you say the authors, you're creating ambiguity. So your reader will have to either go to the reference and follow the reference number to remind himself or herself who are the authors. Okay. Or your reader will have to go back to your writing to find out who the authors are. So if you can, prefer names to the word author or authors.
Okay, thank you.
Please ask me some other questions.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, extend to that question, that if I cite multiple paper, multiple paper is actually demonstrate same thing. So let's talk about think about that 5 papers I have to cite. So 1 to 5. So it is how many research use. So there is no need to use that actually name. So if I use the 5 citations, so authors, and then cite to the 5 paper, then demonstrate or actually put into. So what about this thing, that when you are not a single author, is a multiple paper and next step 2 author, 10 authors. So how do we actually do that when you
naturally you don't want to have the list of different names, since one paper can have as many as, I don't know, like 10 authors. You don't want to start your sentence with a list of all the authors.
I talk about the 10 author for the, not a single paper, 10 author for the like so 5 papers. So that's it. So how to define? So 10 author doing the same things. For the single paper, I should use that at wall. But when it's come to multiple papers, so how to use that?
It depends on your purpose. If you want to show that lots of researchers agree on something, okay, you can safely use numbers. All right, you can go like researchers 1-5 agree that would be perfectly okay. But when your purpose is to show what the guys actually did or what they say, well, it's better to use names in that case. Was I able to answer your question?
Yes, but if I want to use the names, it will be too much at this. So there is a multiple sentence also occur. So
Well, if you got 10 authors to the same paper, is that what you're
no, same multiple paper, not the same paper.
Multiple papers.
Yes.
Like you've got three, for example, you got 3 papers, and all in all there are 3 authors. There are 10 authors to those 3 papers.
Yes.
Understanding you correct?
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay. First of all, if you got 3 authors or more, you're using et al. That's number 1. Okay. So I understand you can safely use names plus et al. Actually, it all depends. You might want to write the sentence and see if the subject is too long. If what you get is too long a subject, you will have to go back to your researchers and plus number, because researchers plus number would be much shorter as compared to using names. And that would be more readable as compared to listing all the 10 names, even with et al. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions?
And if I choose to go on with the author's names, I need to stick to that in the whole paper, or I can change sometimes to use just authors and in brackets like to reference, or and another time I use names of the authors. I can use different variations of using it, right?
Right. It depends. Okay, it depends on your situation. If you're starting your paragraph with using the names, okay, and if you have to keep on speaking about the same authors, okay, and if your first sentence where you use names is a short one, okay, you can go with the authors or the researchers. But if that first sentence is quite a long one, okay, and quite a complicated one, I would go with names again. Or I would go with publication. Once again, if the publication title is not very long and complicated. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Right, I'm going to stop the demonstration now. I have to say that I was not able to give, I haven't been able to give feedback on each and every home task. Hopefully I will do that today and you will get your own feedback. Okay. Please take that feedback into consideration and improve your further rating. Okay. Now, what I suggest we do, because we're a little bit behind time, what I suggest that we do is to leave the presentation on arguments for your home study, since it's quite basic and rather easy. And what I want you to do now is to do the exercises on effective writing, since I understand we are having issues with that. Let me send you the link to the exercise that I want you to do now. It's on Moodle. And that is handout 1. So I'm sending you the link. So the link is in the Zoom chat, and I'm sending the same link to your Telegram group. Please get the copy. Open the file, please. Let me demonstrate what you have to be looking at. This is the one handout 1, editing for effective writing. What I want you to do just now, I will give you 10 minutes. Please work individually. Take a look at every sentence in exercise 1. Try to understand, try to get if the sentence is effective or not. If you think that the sentence is not effective, make all the changes that you need to make the sentence effective. Do you understand the task?
Professor,
Yes.
By making the sentence effective, you mean effective in the sense of presenting it in a research paper or an essay, or in which sense effective?
It's quite general, actually. Let's take a look at number 1, but let's try and do it all together, all right? So number 1, everyone knows that insufficient food supply causes food insecurity. Obviously, this is overgeneralization. Like everyone knows, not really, okay? There are people who are not familiar with any food insecurity or food supply. So this is overgeneralization. Now, how could you deal with overgeneralization? How could you make it less general?
Well, we can remove the everyone knows. For the first thing we can actually do is try to remove the everyone knows.
Yeah, or you can go with most people know that insufficient food supply, or you can go with some people know that an insufficient food supply causes food security. Something like that, okay? Or you may go with everyone might know that insufficient food supply causes food security, okay? So it's like you hedge. I mean, if you were the writer of this sentence, you hedge yourself against some possible objections from the other researchers. Okay? And if you take a look at number 2, for example, number 2 is very easy. It's the exclamation mark. You're not supposed to generate emotions with your research writing. Okay, do you understand what I want you to do now? Any other questions? Okay, take 10 minutes, do as many sentences as possible, and then we'll discuss.
Excuse me, we need to paraphrase the sentence, as far as I understand, no?
Not really. You have to find the stylistic imperfections here. Okay, we actually talked about that during class 3, I believe. So we're not paraphrasing, we're not going that deep here.
Okay.
Only stylist, only make the sentence more effective linguistically.
Are we looking at any particular sentence or at all of them at once?
All of them at once. You got 10 minutes. You have to do as many as possible. That's exercise 1. So you will try to correct those sentences individually, and then we'll discuss. You got 5 minutes left. You've got 1 minute left. 1 minute is left. Okay, let's start discussing, shall we? So what I want you to do is, I will call out your name and you will explain what is wrong with the original sentence, and you will propose your own variant. Okay. Yeah, number 3. We continue with number 3. That is, vast amounts of food are destroyed by rats, mice, etc. Anastasia, could you do that one? Say what's wrong and how to make it good.
I think that vast amount is not like a real number, or so it's it should be more precise. Which amount are you talking about? And I'm not really agree with the etc. in the end.
What's wrong with etc. at the end? Why aren't you agreeing to it?
I prefer to use maybe some well, here we're talking about rats and mice, so I prefer to use some generalization over type of animals, for example. It's just
right. What can be the types of animals that we're talking about here? Rats, mice. Anybody?
Rodents. It's maybe rodents.
Rodents. You can go with rodents, or you can go with vermin, which is even more general. So vermin is basically anything that eats, that spoils anything living that spoils whatever a human needs. Right. So Anastasia is totally right with not being okay with etc. Because this is an example of the incomplete list. Okay. And also, if you take a look at the sentence, you will see the passive. Right? So amounts are destroyed by. So this would be ineffective passive. Anastasia, could you provide your own variant? A more effective one? Anastasia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you, number 3?
To be honest, I don't know how to. What is the best option here? Maybe something like rats and mice destroys here we need some value, some amount of food.
Yeah, well, first of all, you have to replace rats and mice with a word that shows the group. So like rodents, okay, or vermins. So like rodents destroy 25,000 tons of food a year. Now that will be a perfectly effective sentence. Any questions on 3?
Professor?
Yeah.
In that very same sentence, I have a small doubt here.
Okay.
If we, I agree with the etc. part, but why should we write or choose the word rodents here? Because, for example, here the author means exactly rats and mice, for example. I don't know.
Not really. The author has got that etc. part. Okay?
Exactly. For example, let's consider, I don't know, a squirrel. A squirrel is also a rodent, as far as I know. A squirrel is also a rodent. It could be that squirrels actually can destroy vast amounts of food, for example. But probably the author didn't mean at all squirrels. So using the word rodents, I don't know, it leads to know that any rodent, actually.
All right, we could go with vermin then.
Okay.
See, we cannot just go with rats and mice because we have got that etc. parts. which means that we have to have a word that includes something else, but for, res, and mace. Any other question on 3?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 4. Let's do number 4. Please explain what's wrong with 4 and provide a better version.
First of all, we have the, I think, assumption about if a disease breaks out. I mean, it's not a concrete version, and it's pretty short. That's why a disease may cause destruction the entire crop. This is my version.
That's okay. First of all, yeah, I really like that, by the way. A disease can destroy entire crops. Short and sweet. Very good. Okay. Problem number 1 here is breakout. It's a phrasal verb. So you have to do something with it.
Yep. I have replaced it with just may cause.
Yeah, it's a very good one. Yeah, it's very good. I mean, your sentence is a very good one. I'm just explaining the reasons. So there are like basically 2 basic problems here. In the second clause, you got this, a pronoun, which is quite vague. So writing a disease can destroy entire crops is much better than the original. Thank you, Ruslan. Any comments on 4?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Regarding entire crops, it's not a generalization. Entire crops, or we have to say like the majority of crops.
I wouldn't say that this is overgeneralization because you've got a verb. You have got a verb can. So it can destroy entire crops, but it can destroy, majority of crops. So there are options here. So it's okay in terms of generalization. Any other questions on 4?
Professor,
yeah,
which synonym can we use for breaking out in case of a disease?
As simple as start.
Yes, it's yes.
Yep.
Can we start just start? Okay.
Totally, yes, because breakout is to start suddenly.
Okay.
But Ruslan's option is probably the best version here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's continue with number 5, shall we? And Dmitry, can you do number 5, please?
I think this sentence is okay, but should be some kind of maybe citation to some studies or surveys, maybe. So globalization leads to continued food security and poverty in rural communities, according to citation.
Guys, what do you think?
I think we can say globalization is one of the most reasons that leads to.
Yeah, it could be a case of overgeneralization because the sentence says globalization leads to continued food insecurity. But this is not the 100% outcome of globalization. So therefore, number 5 is also an overgeneralization. And the simplest way to deal with it is globalization can lead to continued food insecurity. As simple as that. You can just add one word and the sentence would be okay. Any other comments on 5?
What about continued as an adjective, right?
Well,
isn't it? But can we say continuous instead? Will it be better?
Actually, continuous and continued, the meaning is a bit different. When you say continued food insecurity, it means that we have food insecurity for a long period of time. And if we say continuous food insecurity, it means that that food insecurity never stops once started. That's continuous and continued. Was I able to explain?
Yes, thank you.
If you're not happy with continued here, you might want to go with long. Globalization leads to long food insecurity and poverty in rural communities. Or long term. Any other questions on 5? Right, number 6. Let's do number 6. And Swati, can you do number 6, please?
Yes.
So what's wrong with 6 and how can you improve it?
So it's like role to play in getting rid of hunger and poverty.
What's wrong with it?
I mean, maybe this phrase is not correct, like role to play in
What is it
getting
that's
rid of. So it's like, so we can say like important role in getting rid of hunger and poverty.
Right, so your suggestion is to lose to play altogether. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so it's like important role itself is a, you know.
Right, totally. Thank you, Swati. This is a perfect example of redundancy. So you don't have to say to play because you always play a role, okay? And that to play part is assumed, so you don't really need it.
Yes.
That's number 1. And also, you've got the phrasal verb, phrasal phrase, get rid of something.
Get rid of, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can use something else here instead of saying getting rid of.
So what's your option for this one? What
Important
do you think?
role in hunger and poverty, we can say that, right? Smallholder farmers have an important role to eradicate hunger and poverty.
Yeah, eradicate is okay in terms of meaning, but I would go with stop. Like smallholder farms have an important role to stop hunger.
And
no, in stopping hunger and poverty. Eradicate is okay, but it is quite long and Latin sounding. So try to go simpler.
Okay.
I think eradicate is quite often used with food and hunger, you know, so for me it sounds better than stop, to be honest.
Especially with like poverty, it is used so much to eradicate poverty.
It is, but eradicate is like 4 syllables and rather long, while stop is 1 syllable and very short and neutral. So the less you write, basically with writing, less is more. Okay, the simpler is your writing, the more readers you will get.
Yeah, but when we say stop, when we say stop, it do not sound very, I don't know, serious. So it's like stop hunger and poverty. So we cannot definitely stop it forever. I mean, we can reduce, small farmers can reduce it or something, you know.
Right, but what does the original say?
So it's a getting rid of.
What does getting rid of mean?
Yes, it means that you don't have it anymore.
Right.
Yes.
So when you stop something, you don't have it anymore. When you eradicate something, you stop it and you don't have it anymore. So the difference between in eradicating hunger and poverty and in stopping hunger and poverty is basically the number of syllables.
Maybe you can use eliminate as a verb.
You can use eliminate, but once again, eliminate is as long as eradicate.
Yeah, but eliminate is more often used than eradicate, I think.
Yeah, totally. See, the thing is that you're not supposed to be sounding intelligent, okay? You're supposed to be clear, okay? Because you get readers, and there are lots and lots of papers published each month, okay? And chances are that your article would be read if your writing is simple and effective, okay? So the rule that I go by is to try not to use Latin roots. Try to stick to Germanic roots. Words like eliminate and eradicate are, well, they come from Latin. They're Latin roots. So prefer Germanic rules. I don't really know if that works, if that would work for you, but it works for me, okay. Basically, the shorter the better.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Okay, I think we'll stop here and let's talk about the home task. I'm sorry, any other questions?
So may I ask about this sentence?
Sure.
Their smallholder. I thought this term means small farmer. So we have small farmers. Is it like correct to use it like this?
What's your option once again? Small farmers?
I think small holder here means small scale. I don't know. That is what I understood.
Smallholder farmers, it's basically farmers who do not have lots of land. So smallholder farmers.
Smallholder means small scale, right?
Yeah, small scale, yes, totally.
I think what Anastasia means here is that smallholder already contains farmer inside it, you know?
Oh.
Yes,
really...
sorry, so something wrong with my internet connection.
Right. I don't think that a farmer is necessarily small. I mean, that's quite a debatable question, actually.
The question is that smallholder, it's already like small farmer. So we have a repetition here, small farmer.
So what you're saying is that farmers might be redundant.
Yeah.
Well, I would not say that once again, because...
I just have a clarification. Hello?
Emmanuel?
Yes, I think smallholder farmer describes the type of farmer. So I don't think that's a repetition, because the smallholder is simply describing the type of farmer that is actually being talked about in the sentence.
Right, I would agree with Emmanuel, because, you know, there may be farmers who do not have lots of land, and there might be farmers who own big chunks of land, and those farmers with big chunks of land would not be smallholder farmers.
The point here is that smallholder by definition means farmer who owns a small land by itself.
Is it?
Yes. I mean, like.
Did you check it?
Not really.
Yes, Professor. I think I think they have a small point, because I to be honest, I didn't know what a smallholder was, and I just searched for it. But I am trying to look for this construction, smallholder farmers, using Google, and so far I don't see any sentence which says smallholder farmers. They have smallholder farming, but they are qualifying the verb itself, but not smallholder farmer.
Let's Google, shall we?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Can you see my
screen? I have it Googled, so.
Yeah, smallholder farmer.
So I think Anastasia said something which is important, because we are using a small farmer. Well, from my point of view.
Okay. First of all, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So we do have smallholder farmer. Okay. Now let's check just smallholder.
Yeah.
And see. So smallholding is a small farm. Okay, smallholder, Cambridge English Dictionary. Let's check that. Who owns a small holding? I like that so much. Smallholder farmers, smallholder production. Right. Smallholder family farms, smallholder farming. Smallholder farmers. Okay, from what I see here,
so the construction exists. So the construction does exist.
Yeah, it does exist, but the thing is, I feel that smallholder is like a modifier. So from what I'm seeing here is that smallholder requires a noun to be modified. Like you go smallholder production, smallholder farming, smallholder family. So I'm not seeing here any. I mean,
so this is not redundant. Saying a smallholder farmer, it's not redundant, is it?
That's what I'm saying. I got
okay.
smallholder quality management system.
Yes.
So I guess those would not be considered redundant, despite of the fact that okay, no, yeah, they cannot be redundant, unfortunately.
So it is correct, the structure, smallholder farmers.
What I feel is that smallholder farmer phrase is a term, probably, because it does look like a term.
Okay.
Anastasia?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. That'll be all for today. Let me speak about your home assignment. Now, your home assignment for the next Monday is this. This is the link to the assignment on Moodle. Let me send the same link to your Telegram group. Here you will have an essay. Your task will be to identify parts of this essay as per the research essay structure. That's number one. And number two, your task number two would be to try to make this text more effective, more readable. The deadline would be next Monday. Do you understand the task?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that is your home assignment for the next Monday. Now for this Thursday, you do have your home assignment. It's on Moodle. It's describing research methods, exercise, and glossary for your quiz. That'll be all for today. Please ask me questions.
Professor, can I ask a question regarding this glossary exactly, academic vocabulary 3, describing research methods?
Okay.
Well, in the section of, just a second. What the researcher does, number 21 and 20, for example, it's just a small thing, but still, it says a variable, anything that can, yes, it's, yes, academic vocabulary 3, number 20, 21,
20, okay.
And 21, which is a variable and then a second variable. For example, here the definition says anything that can vary, for example. And then the next one, which is number 21, says a second variable, a dependent variable. My question is, well, there can be cases where a second variable can also be, can also vary and can be independent. Here, so yes, so I mean, this is,
I can see what you mean.
Yes. I mean, there can be a function which depends on two independent variables, for example.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't we drop 21 altogether?
Okay.
It will not be included into your quiz, you know.
Okay, so we will just use the definition of 20, a variable, anything that can vary.
Yeah, because
Okay.
21 does produce an ambiguity of certain kind.
Well, yes, to some extent, yes, but okay. And that is one thing, and the other one is just a second. Number 18, research methods, useful word combination. You have this example. It's another survey. Exactly this Latin locution or Latin phrase. When a researcher makes inferences from data collected, these interviews or questionnaires, and that thing. So in this part,
that's a typo. Via interviews or questionnaires, collected via, not these.
Okay. So sorry, my bad.
Yeah. It's a typo.
I thought it was this. Well, a Latin word. Okay.
No, it's via.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions?
Professor, I have one question.
Go ahead.
So in the homework 7 that you just recently said, the second part is to identify the elements of each paragraph. What elements are we exactly talking about? Which elements?
You might want to go to the presentation on the research essay structure.
Okay.
And there's the composition of each paragraph. You might want to take a look at the handout, like the supporting part, the details, the concluding sentence, and so on.
Okay, I will take a look at it.
Okay. What other questions have you got? Okay, if you don't have questions, that'll be all for today, and I will see you Thursday. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.